Go away, I'm trying to record a video. I spent years making things before I realized that actually what I was an artist. And I think I pushed that feeling away for a very long time. Today I want to tell you about the moment that made me finally realize what being an artist actually is and what it meant for my life. So I always thought like the moment I would realize that I was an artist would be something big, like getting gallery representation or like selling a painting for a certain number, or like someone really important being like, you are an artist. The realization that actually what I was an artist came like kind of fast, and it like honestly really destabilized me. It like threw my entire life kind of like up in the air. I think that a lot of artists experience this and not very many people talk about it. What really helped me creatively was to follow curiosity. Whenever something interested me, I leaned in like completely. I completely gave myself over to the process of learning that shiny new thing. And I followed that thing until it felt like it didn't quite fit me anymore. When I was little, I remember people asking me all the time, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my answer was never an artist. I grew up in this tiny little town full of really great, hardworking people, but being an artist was not an option. So it wasn't even on the top of my mind. When I went to high school, we had fantastic arts programs. And so I took every single elective that I could, focusing on arts. I did pottery for 4 years and photography and fine art drawing, but it was never in my mind that I could go off to college and become an artist. So when I graduated from high school, I decided, well, I guess I should do something really reasonable. And I went for elementary education. My cousin went to the Pittsburgh Art Institute, and I remember my first semester sitting in this education class being like, gosh, he made the right decision. Actually, this isn't what I want to do, but I am like a stick with it kind of gal. And so I stuck with it and I finished it out. And through that whole process of going to school for a career that I really wasn't interested in, I knew in my, I don't know, the fibers of my being that this was not my path. And so when I graduated, I decided, I can't do this. I actually can't do this. I will be a shell of myself if I commit to doing this for the rest of my career. And so I launched into this, like, I am going to figure out what my calling is type of attitude. And I tried on like every single hat. I spent time shadowing a seamstress, and I did that for a little bit. Took a real estate course, and I tried that for a little bit. And then I was like, well, these are not fulfilling my creative desires the way I want them to. And looking back, I don't know if I had that sort of like clarity that I was like searching for my calling, but I know that I was like searching for something. And I very clearly remember telling my husband so many times, like, all I want to do is make things and like make money doing it. Like the idea of being like trapped in a building, I don't know, sending emails was like a nightmare to me. And so what really helped me find my way creatively was like trying on all of these different lives and these different creative paths. So then I landed on knitwear. I would sit there and draw out the design and have a chart that someone could follow, and they could make exactly what I just made. I was feeling like, okay, well, I think I'm getting closer to like my path. And so I did this for 10 years. 10 years of my life I spent writing knitting patterns. What I really loved was the process of making it. I think it was really awesome to have a product at the end, but the process was the like really delicious part that I wanted to keep coming back to. And all the while I was doing this creative career, I was trying different things and painting and drawing all in my free time when I wasn't working or parenting. I just thought, oh yeah, these are just like just for me, because in my mind, being an artist wasn't an option because I didn't know any artists. I didn't even know like the ways you could make a living doing this thing that I loved, but I was doing as a hobby. Whenever something really interested me, I like gave it my full attention. Dove in both feet. And this is like a characteristic that is like very much from my dad. If he was interested, he would become like an expert in the field, even if it was just like a hobby. He could tell you anything you wanted to know about cameras and pottery, and like the things that I really loved, I loved so intensely. But each one kind of felt like it was missing an element that fulfilled me in a way that I was just longing for. For a long time, I wondered, like, are people judging me, like, for like kind of changing my mind or getting really interested in something and then kind of dropping it, like going from one hobby to the next hobby. But now in retrospect, I can absolutely see how each thing I was interested in, even my 10 years of knitwear design, has led me to where I am now. Giving myself fully over to what I loved in that moment gave me so much clarity, because over time I learned about myself, I learned about what I loved, and I learned about what I did not love. And I think that is just as important. There was always painting. I could easily sit down and lose hours in front of my easel. Painting kind of felt like, you know, when you come home from being out and about and you take off your tight jeans and you pull on a pair of like really soft, comfortable house pants. That's what it felt like. It felt like, okay, finally I get to sit down and just like relax into this thing. Eventually I realized something very important. I was never lost. Even when I was wandering down these side roads, chasing these other things, the ideas, the interests, there was always something to learn there that would benefit me. So yeah, like we're asked when we're very young, what do we want to be? And maybe like a few people know right away, but most of us have so many lives living inside of this one life that we are given. We get to explore so many different things in the quest to find ourselves. While all of these explorations and side quests were happening, I was raising children. I was becoming, and I was teaching them how to become at the same time. One day I was musing out loud to my husband about how I will get something in my mind, like I want to make something, and I will roll it around and think about it, pull it apart, figure it out. Even when I'm away from that project, my mind can be so easily consumed by a joyful project or a thing that I want to create from nothing. And when I finally verbalized this feeling of just like this longing to be creating all the time, and if I wasn't creating, I was feeling off and like weird and not regulated. But right after I come out of a creative session, I feel rejuvenated and joyful and more like myself, and that feeling will extend for a few days after I make the work. I was like, oh my word, what I actually am is an artist. Because he's not an artist, he's creative in his own way, absolutely, but he doesn't feel this way. He doesn't feel this call on his life to make things. So much so that he's awoken in the middle of the night thinking about the next thing he will create. That moment of knowing woke something up inside of myself. I kind of shushed it. I thought, gosh, what I'm doing right now is going really well. I'm really good at it. I have a fantastic following who likes my work in my knitwear world. No, I'm going to just like hush it up. Like, I'm not going to be a painter. Like, be quiet, go away. Knowing something is true and then not doing anything about it is called apathy. And apathy like will eat you away. It will just eat you up. So I was just not myself after knowing that this calling was placed on my life, and I was saying no to it. And my husband noticed too, like, why aren't you spending more time painting when this is obviously what you want to do? You can only ignore a calling for so long before the calling will either stop calling your name and you'll live a life of just mundane ho-hum. I go to work, I go to bed, I go to work, I go to bed. Like, you could do that, or the calling will send you into some sort of spiral that you won't like, You won't even recognize yourself anymore. Or you can answer the call and get your life going in the direction that you want to go. Is it easy? Absolutely not. Like, answering the call will come with its own challenges, and you will feel that, like, oh gosh, like I'm stepping into something too big. Every time you step into a bigger place, you will eventually expand yourself to fill this new role. The absolute turning point for me to where I said, okay, well, this is my old life and this is going to be my new life, was my dad dying suddenly. I thought, I am at this crossroads right here. Life is very short. Like, the old me is back here, and I can either keep going and not be happy, or I can literally shift my path, maybe be fulfilled. For one, I know that my dad would want me to be doing something that I love. And the calling on my life was just like so loud that it was almost like I couldn't ignore it anymore. So once you're awake to the idea that you have this calling on your life, you have to decide, like, well, what am I going to do about it? If I could just like go back in time and tell my younger self, like, all of this wandering, all of this like experimenting, trying all these different creative things, it is not for nothing. It is going to lead you somewhere. Oh, that would have given me so much relief. But instead, I was just doing the thing until they didn't fit me anymore. And then I would put it away. I want to caveat all of this by saying, like, I am still in the midst of becoming who I am. Like, I am definitely not done. I may never be done. Because I jumped into making art full time, a little later in my late 20s, I felt like I had a really strong sense of what I wanted to make, what my voice was, and it was all because I did that wandering. If you're like in the middle of this wandering season, maybe you're not lost at all. Maybe you are also in the middle of becoming. And maybe what the call on your life is something similar to mine. Maybe you're actually an artist. And maybe becoming an artist isn't about finding your path right away. You have to find your voice first. Maybe it's about following what pulls on your creativity long enough that eventually you recognize yourself there. At least that's what happened to me. Thanks for spending some time with me today in my studio. I'll see you next time.